all the time, but I'm saying that these are ways that I think that you can improve your church score.
Thank you. I have to say, I have not gotten an equation out of this question. I love it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, trade the equation for like the community guidelines aspect. There you go. Start incorporating it. Yeah.
I feel like, so I'm, like I said earlier, like not too recent convert. It's been since 2012 and 13. So it's long enough now, but not like a lifetime. But I'll start with the good. When I was converting, I had the fortune of being in Berkeley, and I used to go to St. Albert's Priory and also to St. Mary Magdalene, which is like kind of on the side where the Theological Union is over there. And so I had like a weird RCIA experience that was really positive, because I had more questions than anything else, and so I wasn't actively looking for community. I was looking for insight into things, and not current events, but like, what are the mysteries, like what is going on, like explain to me this in full detail, like give me books that you think I should read. And so like, of course, all of the brothers were like, oh, that's like heaven. Yeah, like here's all the stuff, you weird nerd. And I was like, this is legit. Like, let me go home and like read St. Augustine. Like, oh, this is like dope. And then it was like very bizarre. So that was really positive for me. And I feel like that's similar to the message part of your fraction, which is I really think sometimes I've struggled, now I'm getting into the negative, I've struggled now here, because I'm further away from where I was. I moved basically like half a year or a year after I converted and had to leave my conversion community. I'd been converting for like years too. It was really slow to take the final step. And like being at the Stanford Catholic community has been very difficult for me because the messages are very different. I felt like I went from getting kind of a high level discussion of what being a Catholic is about to something that's very palatable or sellable. So sometimes I'll call my father and I call it like Christian light or Catholic light, where it's like very appealing. There are some memorable phrases, but they don't have any continuity or linkage. And so that disturbs me a lot because it's like I don't know what I left with. It's still important to go because I think taking communion is important, but like I've struggled to get the will to go because I don't have the connection that I used to have. And so I guess it's really all about message. I think the difference is that, St. Mary Magdalene and St. Albert's Priory has very small community. Like, it's a weird community. There aren't young people. There definitely weren't any black people. Like, and it was, like, people were older and married or have, like, 5 kids. And it was fine for me because I was like, whatever, we're all here to, like, get a good homily and, like, talk about the homily. That's okay. Like, I'm okay with weirdness if I'm getting what I need. And Stanford's the exact opposite, where the community is overemphasized and the message is really, to me, not sufficient to like quench my thirst, and so I struggle. And it almost reminds me of when I was, prior to converting, I had stopped going to church, but my family was evangelical, and it's very similar in the like, it should be about how you feel during the church service, but like you leave and you're like, I'm not really sure like what I learned. Like I got a couple of lines here and there from the Bible, and like somebody said something about them, but I can't verify that they're true because they're out of context, and like now I'm home. And so sometimes it's hard for me to go because the message is not trying to make me a good Catholic or teach me about what I claim to believe in so that I can reaffirm that I believe in that. So, I don't know.
Building off that, and it goes back to this, but I facetiously but not facetiously say you just have to get there before the magic happens, before the transubstantiation. Because I can read the readings in the missal, and if the homily's not good, and I know it's not going to be good, I can read the gospel, and then you're there for Eucharist. And that's what I would get at. That I've had very similar experiences where I'm going for what I want to get out of it.
Yeah. But I also feel like at the same time, going back to some of the discussions before about finding institutional support, mentorship, community, trust, like trying to build up your trust, it's very dissatisfying to go in and like consistently not get something back from someone who, as
you're hoping for.
Well, yeah, and like who is an expert in their field, like as people who value expertise, like to some degree with all like us in higher education arenas, like that's kind of what the role of anyone affiliated with the church, any church is, who feels their calling, and if they're not delivering for whatever reason, then it's extremely unsatisfying. So I actually grew up in the Catholic church I went to. Out of all my sisters, I'm actually the one who's been fortunate enough to go through private school throughout my whole educational experience, and this is the first time that it's not a religiously affiliated university or community. So went to Catholic elementary school, a Lutheran high school, and then Catholic university for undergrad. And what I liked about the Catholic Church relative to the Lutheran Church, because I did get involved in their church community a bit more when I was in high school, it for me was a sense of identity and culture, because as you can figure out by looking at me, it's a little hard to figure out like what I am in terms of race and ethnicity, and it's come up a lot more in adulthood, but it's been a part of my life. And so by being able to say, oh, but I'm Catholic and I can relate to those BuzzFeed articles on like, wearing the uniform and all of that too, like there's a sense of identity associated with it. And like, it's just like also being Mexican American too, like the Virgin Mary is a huge part of like the culture, and like for whatever reason we should probably get her in our house too, just even though I don't practice as much anymore, like Our Lady of Guadalupe should be around there somewhere, so that was actually what I liked about it relative to the Lutheran Church, is like there's this high matriarchal emphasis too, and she has a lot of power and privilege and is completely well respected, especially in a world, including the church itself, that doesn't necessarily respect women's autonomy. Let's see what I've had problems with. A lack of that culture to really grow and thrive and embrace new thoughts and ideas and challenge themselves in new ways. I also have had really negative experiences feeling ostracized by the Catholic Church. Well, not by the Catholic Church, but like basically back to your point about greed, like when I was in elementary school, like I had to fight for my diploma in 8th grade because my parents couldn't afford tuition there, and eventually it led to my parents like having to pull my sisters out, even though I was like one of the top students in their class. I had applied to an all-girls Catholic high school and scored well, would have been admitted, but basically the rejection letter said, your parents can't afford to pay for you at your elementary school, why can't we? Like, there's no way we will, like, you'll be able to be supported in this school. And so at that time, there is still a bit of frustration and hurt because it goes back to the institution versus individual perspectives that I mentioned before. I took a break from the Catholic Church, went to the high school, and then in college I really enjoyed learning about theology and like perspectives on theology, but they were areas of Catholicism that prior to me entering college were always they always had a negative perspective on it. Like I took a feminist theology class, and like we were able to discuss like in the lens of Catholicism like perspectives on sexuality and like liberation theology and like all of these different types of I don't know, I'm like getting flustered. Like different types of perspectives that are now being